Everyone wants to live a long and healthy life with a body which looks and performs how they want it to. Yet so many search for the answers by taking the advice from peers and by following the dietary and training plans of people with different goals and outcomes to which they're searching.
Within the health and fitness industry, there's a significant amount of disinformation from a wide variety of self-proclaimed experts, never really tying together what you want or need to hear. There are people who are performing at their best, and there are others who don't know where to begin. This podcast aims to take you through the compendium of what is diet and fitness to allow you to design your own training programs to meet your specific needs.
In each episode, we're going to discuss a new topic surrounding diet, fitness and mindset which builds on previous knowledge. This allows you to understand and appreciate the fundamentals before we delve into the more specific needs of top-level athletes.
This podcast is hosted by James and Max. James is a registered dietitian and nutritionist who's worked within the NHS and private sector. He specialises in improving athletic performance, enhancing training recovery and accelerating muscle growth. And I'm Max, a strength and conditioning coach who specialises in athletic performance and personal development. I've worked with GB athletes in bobsleigh and rowing, and also alongside semi-professional and professional rugby players.
Together, we hope to provide a wealth of knowledge and value to you, the listener. Thanks for tuning in. This is My Athletic Compendium. Hi guys, and welcome back to the podcast. This week it's going to be a little bit different. It's just me, myself and I. No Max, no camera as well. I know it's been failing recently, but we've been trying to work on that. We will be getting a new camera soon. Sadly, I've been a little bit unwell recently, and so trying to find some time where Max and I can come together to do the podcast this week has been a little bit difficult. We're both very busy men. Max is obviously busy with his personal clients. He's also with his professional athletes at the North Walian Rugby Club. I can never pronounce it. Is it RGC? RCG? That one. But I've got a little bit of time today, this morning. It's Saturday morning. It's about 8:30. And I thought I'd take the time to just go over lipids or fats to the majority of you. Obviously this is a diet section of the podcast, so it fits well that it is just me available this week, and I can go through that with you. If it does sound a little bit different, it's because I'm just using my phone and mic. I've heard it works well, so fingers crossed you don't mind the sound difference, but we will be back up to normal with our normal microphone next week, so it should sound great then. But essentially, fats, I know I've touched on them previously in the macronutrients section. They are a really important macronutrient. So fats and protein are essentially macronutrients that we cannot live without. Carbohydrates we can get around not having. Again, if you're a professional athlete, you need carbohydrates in terms of performance, but in terms of survival, you only need fats and protein to make everything you need in your body. You can turn proteins into carbohydrates. The body is very clever and can do that. It does take a long time, takes quite a bit of energy to do so, but you can survive on just protein and fats. And that's why, the keto diets exist. People can really just live on low levels of carbohydrates, or even no levels of carbohydrates and high levels of protein and fats. But essentially fats are a very energy dense macronutrient. So they contain 9 calories per gram of what you eat. And again, if you were to compare that to protein and carbohydrates, they both provide you with 4 calories per gram. So I think that's why fat gets such a bad rep in terms of making people fat, because if you're having high fat foods and you're having lots of them, it's very easy to hit your calorie requirements, but before the end of the day. And that's why the turn of the age where, low fat diets became a thing for people to try and lose weight, because you are essentially cutting out one of the most energy dense macronutrients, which should in theory reduce calorie intake. But again, fats are really important. They're important for making steroid hormones in your body, natural steroid hormones. that enable you to be male and female. They regulate the fluidity of cell membranes. I know we're getting too sciencey here, but essentially they're really important for the cell membranes of all of your cells in your body. And what else do they do? They're really important for hormone regulation. There are lots of different types of fats. I think it's important that we just cover the basis today. So we'll talk about saturated fats and unsaturated fats. So saturated fats, they're saturated because they contain they're full up of hydrogen atoms. Again, don't want to get too sciencey, but by being full up of hydrogen, they can, if you think about the structure, it's a lot of carbons and hydrogens, and essentially it means that they can sit very close together. Because they're saturated, two different structures can sit together very closely, and that's why they can become solid, what we see them as solid. Typical examples of that are your animal fats, and that's why people say saturated fats are bad, because they can sit together, and what they essentially do in your body is create high levels of something called low density lipoproteins. I know we're still in the basis stages of this, but the low density lipoproteins, and we will describe what they are later, can be very dangerous in terms of if you're creating lots of them in your body. They sit in your artery walls, and they clog them up and essentially lead to cardiovascular disease, which can obviously have grave consequences. Now, on the flip side, there are polyunsaturated or just unsaturated fatty acids, and that means they are not full up of hydrogen. So they're unsaturated. Saturated meaning full, unsaturated meaning not full. And it's the not full section which is really important, because that means that there are some discrepancies in the structure of it, which means they can't sit very close or as closely together, which also means that they can't form a solid structure. And that's why unsaturated fats tend to be your oils. So if we just go, into the kitchen, if you looked for saturated fats, you would generally see solid fats, things that you would associate with animal meats, chicken skin, the fat on the side of a steak, the fat on the side of a pork, typically your fats in yogurts, which you wouldn't be able to see. But then if you were to look at the oils in the oil section, they all are fluid, and that's because they are unsaturated fatty acids. Now, there's different levels of unsaturated fatty acids as well. You've got polyunsaturated fatty acids, which means there's lots and lots of missing hydrogen atoms. These are really good for you. Things that you'd find them in are like olive oil, although that's monounsaturated, meaning there's only one missing hydrogen atom. You would also have avocados that are naturally high in polyunsaturated fatty acids. Nuts have lots of polyunsaturated fatty acids, and these are the fats which are beneficial to your health. So what they do, we spoke about those low density lipoproteins that can sit in your artery walls. What they essentially do is they create something called high density lipoproteins, which do the opposite. Instead of being put into the artery walls, they help take those low density lipoproteins or fats out of the arteries, bring them back to the liver where they can be used as energy. And obviously by removing fats from the artery walls, you're declogging them essentially, reducing your risk of cardiovascular disease. So if you can take anything away from today, it's that fats aren't bad. They are really important, and they're a really good tool in your diet and fitness journey. But if you were going to make any swaps, it is to swap those saturated fats for those unsaturated fats. So little practical examples of that might be if you're having a steak, you might want to cut the fat off, and by cutting the fat off, you're obviously taking away a lot of fat. So you might want to replace that with a salad and drizzle over some olive oil. So you're still getting those levels of fat. Like I said, it's important that you're getting fat in your diet, but you're replacing it with those healthier versions of fat, which are obviously beneficial to your body. If you might want to snack on a handful of nuts as opposed to having a high-fat yogurt. I'm not saying yogurts are bad. I'm just saying they're higher in saturated fats than things like nuts. There is also one other main type of fat that some of you may have heard of, and these are really bad for you. These are called trans fatty acids. I won't go too much into the structure of them because I know I've probably bored half of you just by mentioning it, but trans fatty acids essentially occur when oils get heated up to really, really high temperatures. Now, that could be, like in a deep fat fryer. It could be you frying steaks or any sort of meat or veg in your frying pan, where you're heating that pan up to a really high temperature. You're putting the oil in and frying it. So that's why we say fried foods are bad. Although you're using oils, which are better than solid fats, the olive oil, the rapeseed oil is better for you than the animal fats. If you're heating them to very high temperatures and frying, whether that's shallow frying or deep frying, you are essentially changing the structure of those unsaturated fatty acids into trans fatty acids. And these are really, really bad for your health. We spoke about those low density lipoproteins. Well, these create something called very low density lipoproteins. And they also create a lot of low density lipoproteins. Now, essentially, they just put a lot of fat into your muscles. So you get intramuscular fats. And you also get lots of fats deposited in your arteries, which can obviously, over time, can thicken, can harden, and cause cardiovascular disease, and obviously strokes. So that's a brief introduction to fats. I know I spoke about them in that first macronutrient section, but it's good that we're building on our knowledge from previous episodes. We've spoken about proteins, we've spoken about carbohydrates. It only makes sense to talk about fats. In the upcoming episodes, Max is going to take more of a hosting sort of side, because we will be talking more on exercise, and that is his speciality. So I will shut up then, which I'm sure a lot of you will be happy about, and Max can take over and start the foundational process for the exercise side of things. And I'm really looking forward to that. I feel like there's a lot that I need to learn, although I've been exercising to try and improve my performance since I was about 14, 15. I'm now 26. I still feel like I've got a lot to learn, and Max has a wealth of information which I'm keen to learn. So I think we're all going to be on this journey together. I know my diet and nutrition. Max has a good level of understanding but wants to learn more about diet and nutrition, and he has a wealth of information about diet and about exercise and performance, and I'm really keen to learn more about that. So I hope you guys are too. I think we'll keep this episode nice and short, as it is just myself. Look forward to speaking to you soon. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't already subscribed to the podcast, please do give us a review. It's nice to just hear what your thoughts are, what you would like to hear more about. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, sorry there's no episode this week, but we will have that up and running again. Also, subscribe to us on YouTube, give us a watch, give us a thumbs up. That'd be really nice. If you want to follow us on socials, that's absolutely fine. If you follow our podcast, it is My Athletic Compendium on Instagram, and through there you will find the links to both myself and Max's Instagram. If you want to DM us any questions, we'll be happy to answer them. We also have our websites with lots of articles if you have any burning desire to get ahead of the programme and can't wait for the episodes to come out, then take a look at them. Again, thanks for listening. Take care, guys. Have a nice rest of your weekend. Bye-bye.